Welcome to Producing Confidence, a Danos family of companies podcast. Whether it's breaking news from the field, insights on innovation, or behind-the-scenes stories, we're excited to keep you connected and informed. Tune in and join us as we continue producing confidence every step of the way.
Hello and welcome to Producing Confidence. I'm your host, Melanie Toups, and today we're diving into a part of our industry that plays a critical role: outsourced operations and decommissioning. It's the kind of work that requires trust, strong partnerships, and people who are willing to take real ownership every day. I'm joined today by Blake Habbit, Danos' Decommissioning Operations Manager, and Luis Otero, Danos General Manager of Outsourced Operations and Decommissioning. We'll talk about what this work really looks like, the challenges that come with it, and what it takes to support our customers from start to finish. Blake, Luis, so glad to have you here. Let's get started.
Thanks for having us, Mel.
So Luis, for employees who may not be familiar, what exactly is outsourced operations?
Outsourced operations is a new division that we created at Danos since last year. And the intent of it, or the focus and strategy for it is really going and providing kind of the next step in terms of O&M labor and oversight management of that labor for our customers. So it goes a little bit beyond the traditional staffing models, and now we are supplementing that with onshore technical support to provide the customers with a little bit more oversight of what's going on in the field and managing the day-to-day operations so they can focus on their kind of long-term strategies.
Okay, interesting. Why are more operators turning to outsourced operations right now instead of managing everything themselves?
Yeah, so I think it's a value play. I think we will be able to deliver more value for our customers using this model for multiple reasons. And it depends on what type of asset or portfolio of assets are being transitioned into this type of model, right? We have customers that are looking at using an outsourced operations model for late life assets, so assets that are in the kind of the final years of their life, hoping to lower operational costs for that asset and extend the asset retirement obligations. And by extending the asset retirement obligations, basically you're delaying a significant amount of capital that needs to be spent on decommissioning, and that brings value to the customers. We also have other customers out there that are looking for different operating models for brand new projects, right? So from the get-go, they're looking at a model where it has higher contractor penetration, and again, we can supplement that O&M labor in the field with onshore technical oversight to help the operator manage the day-to-day operations for that asset. That onshore kind of oversight that we provide, it also allows us to integrate all the service lines that Danos brings to the table under one umbrella, which minimizes interfaces with the customers and within the customer.
So Luis, you mentioned decommissioning. Blake, let's go to you. Decommissioning is not really something that people outside of this industry hear about often. What does that work involve, and why is it so important?
So there's multiple stages to decommission a platform. So we're going to come in there and make it safe. Typically, these assets are old and dilapidated, so to speak, and hadn't been lived on for a while. So we got to come in there and ensure we can work safely on the assets. So we'll come in there and make the platform safe to work. Then we're going to de-inventory the platform and remove the hydrocarbons to remove that risk of anything going into the Gulf and causing an environmental impact. Then we'll come in and plug and abandon the wells and then pull the conductors and the wellheads out. And then we'll come in there and prep for removal. So construction will come back out and prep the platform to be able to safely remove it with a heavy lift vessel. And then we'll remove any pipelines that are involved with that location and then come back and site clear the entire lease, but the entire location to removing the debris from the seafloor and minimize the environmental impact in the Gulf.
When y'all get there, you make it safe. What's involved with that? What do you do?
So a lot of construction, typically these platforms have missing handrails, missing grading, open holes, unbarricaded areas. So we're going to come in there and set equipment to work. We need to add handrails so we can work safely with not having unprotected edges. The grading, we need strong support to set equipment on and work off of. New deck plating could be new boat landings to even access, new swing ropes to even get on the location. So there's a lot of that goes up front to be able to just safely board the platform. So, yeah.
Does the decommissioning group perform all of those duties, or do you guys call on other departments within Danos to, like the construction group, or do you use other service lines?
Yeah, so we leverage our inside partners, right? Our I&D group, there could be a lot of valve work involved in this, a lot of construction, obviously, with our performance partners. There's some things we don't do here that we'll outside source, like well work and heavy lift work. But our crews are generally, from start to finish, in some way, shape, or form, Danos people supporting these projects across multiple service lines.
Why is decommissioning services important right now?
So like Blake alluded to earlier, right? So some of these assets that we're decommissioning right now in the shelf, that they're old, right? 30 plus years. The assets and the wells, right? And like Blake mentioned earlier, these carry a certain environmental risk. So the reservoirs are still pressurized. There's still hydrocarbons in those reservoirs. There's still hydrocarbons in some of the facilities, and all that poses environmental risk. And that risk continues to increase as time goes by, right? So that's why the government will issue asset retirement orders for the lease operators to go and decommission these assets. And that's just for the shelf. But now I think we're starting to move into a wave of deep water assets that are also coming to age, where production has stopped or is soon to stop, right? And customers are reaching out to start planning decommissioning of these deep water assets.
And there's a lot more complexity in a deep water spar or semi-submersible rig with umbilicals and subsea wells, and it's a lot more involvement and complexity rather than your standard typical shelf asset.
What are the risks that are involved if it's not done right?
Environmental impacts. You could have a spill. You could have toppling platforms if they're not addressed in a timely manner. There's a lot of risk involved.
I mean, ultimately safety, right? So the work that Blake and the team are doing out in the field is high risk work, right? There's a lot of lifting operations going on. There's a lot of hot work, open flame work. At times, folks are working on assets that, again, the structure itself is not in its best form, right? So there's a lot of risks that are being taken to be able to decommission assets in that state. But safety risks, both personal safety and process safety risks, are present in all the operations that Blake and the team are doing in the field.
Like decommissioning work, I could imagine you working with legacy systems. There's a lot of unknowns. Like you said, it's platforms that maybe, like you said, file in bankruptcy. It's given back to, what is it, the original lease owner?
In the cases now, yeah, the original lease owners, which are typically the majors who set these platforms years ago, are the ones that are having to do this. Us providing the services that we do here at Danos, it's a good partnership in support of them to be able to do those types of activities.
And I could imagine that because this is the end of life, they want you to move pretty quickly.
Right. So nothing's coming in, no revenue's coming in, it's all going out. So having a mindset of thinking outside the box with anything to do with cutting costs, how to share cost amongst others, those are always key components to this, to be able to help the customer reduce that cost, because that's the biggest thing. And P&A in a well and removing a platform, and that's some heavy equipment that has big costs behind it.
How do you go about protecting the people and the performance whenever you're dealing with that, knowing what you have to do and do it quickly and at a lower cost?
So the safety culture is a big thing. We have daily safety meetings. We have multiple safety meetings. Driving topics that are relevant to the task we're doing is a big key component keeps the what they're doing fresh in their mind, the topic that they're doing, whether it's flush and hydrocarbons, whether it's P&A and wells, whether it's crane operations, whatever it may be. Just ensuring that we're delivering a message to keep those guys safe and having that buy-in from the field. I think creating that safety culture is huge in keeping the guys safe, and they take ownership of that.
Yeah, I'll add something else to that, Mel. I think safety culture is extremely important, like Blake is saying, but I think something else that I think is very important and that I've seen Blake and his team do really well, it comes down to planning. So the time and effort that Blake and his team spend upfront laying out a plan, risk assessing the plan, doing 3D mock-ups of what they're about to go execute in the field, taking that time up front leads to very good execution in the field, safe and efficient. So, I mean, that's something that I do need to recognize Blake and his team for the amount of time they spend planning work before they go to the field to execute. I think that's the key for success.
Yeah, sounds like it. I've seen some of those plans, and they're very impressive.
A lot of details in them.
Yeah, for sure. So, Luis, going back to outsourced operations, what's the difference between sending manpower to a job and taking operational ownership of a facility?
In the Gulf of America, the traditional O&M models that operators have historically used, they have a certain contractor penetration within their organization. So they've called us and asked us, hey, we want X amount of technicians, either operators, mechanics, instrument technicians, electricians, and we will provide those folks. But then when they get to the asset, they're working on the direction purely of the operator, right? Their management systems, their practices and procedures, they're setting the plans and the schedules. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have what's called total asset management operating models, which is a model that's actually used in other basins, like in the North Sea and other international locations, but it really hasn't come to the Gulf of America yet. And the outsourced operations model, what is trying to do is show the value of moving closer to that total asset management model. And we're providing an option with an O&M model, which allows us to integrate all of the service lines that we have at Danos to provide more value for the customer under one umbrella. A team in the office that's providing additional technical oversight and direction to the offshore operations team for day-to-day operations, and leveraging all those service lines to be able to address issues, campaign work, multi-skill offshore technicians so that we can do more with less POB. So that integrated outsourced operations model is there to deliver value by doing that.
Mm-hmm. For somebody who's looking to join Danos or grow in their career here, what types of roles or skill sets are needed for outsourced operations? Yeah,
and this is not just for outsourced operations, but for decommissioning as well, and other divisions and industries. I mean, I think that there's a huge demand for skilled labor. So operators, mechanics, electricians, instrument technicians, automation specialists. So all those crafts are going to be in high demand and will continue to be in high demand. We talked a little bit about decommissioning not being flashy and you're working yourself out of a job, but there is so much decommissioning work out there, and more decommissioning work that's coming our way that we're in high demand for skilled labor like that. And that goes again for decommissioning, outsourced operations, and many of our other divisions.
Okay. What kind of mindset thrives with outsourced operations and decommissioning?
What type of mindset?
Yeah.
I think you have to be...
Like, who succeeds in this environment?
Like Blake was saying, we do a lot of things that are high risk. I think you have to have people with really good integrity that are doing the right thing when nobody's looking, mm-hmm. right? There's going to be many times where folks are in the field executing work, something changes, right? There's not a supervisor right there at the site, and we're relying on people making good decisions, and for that, you need to have high integrity, where you're trying to do the right thing every single time when nobody's looking.
Yeah, to add to that, I think having the intention of having a higher level skilled person managing those projects is key. You got to have somebody with a good head on their shoulders that can make quick and methodical decisions on the fly.
Many times we and others kind of get ourselves in trouble because we want to get things done and are hesitant to stop work, and we have to move past that, right? We also need to recognize when is the right time to stop and just go back and reassess.
Mm-hmm. Talk more about that.
I mean, so stop work is something that I know we at Danos talk a lot about it, and many of the other operators and service providers. I think for me personally, a lot of folks talk about stop work authority, and for me, it goes way beyond that. It's about stop work responsibility. It's like every individual in the field, it's accountable, and they have the responsibility to stop work whenever they see something that's not right. It's not about having the right, it's about having the responsibility and the duty.
Yeah, for sure. So if somebody who's already a Danos employee wants to grow on this side of the business, what should they start developing in now?
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about the kind of the technical skills, right, associated with the crafts. So whatever craft you're working in, there's definitely some basic skills that you have to develop and deepen within your craft. And then there's soft skills around leadership that will be very beneficial, especially as you move later into your career. But for somebody starting off, learn the core craft and technical skills associated with that craft as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'll be the foundation for the rest of your career.
Yeah, for decommissioning, a lot of the personnel involved are specific to production operations because a lot of it's compliance work. So having those highly skilled operators that can do the BSEE compliance work, but also having a second skill set in electrical or I&E or working on NavAid, somebody kind of a dual role person, which we have several of those on customer projects. I think there's more demand for multi-skilled people, specifically in this space and outsourced operations because they want to do more with less. Essentially, they want to use the assets they got and do multiple things with those people to help reduce some of that cost of bringing on somebody else to do a different type of task.
Right.
So,
what would you say separates a Danos employee on these projects from others in our industry?
I would say living by our values every day.
You know, Mel, but for us, I just recently joined Danos back in October of last year. And I had done work with Danos for many years throughout my career from the other side of the industry, from the operator side. But when I walked into the Danos building here, the headquarters, my first day, there was something that I had never seen, and it shocked me. And it was our purpose up on the board. And I think honestly that's what grounds us all at Danos and what makes a difference. It's not just living by the values like Blake was talking about, but it's honestly it's that purpose which starts with honor God, right? So everything we do around here starts with how do we do our work in a way in which we're honoring God. It goes from the leadership here to the guys in the field, and to me that's what makes a difference. That's a huge differentiator between us and others, and that we do it genuinely, right? It's not a sales pitch. It's not marketing material. It's who we are and how we do our work.
So a quick example of that is we have daily safety meetings. We either start or end each of those safety meetings with a prayer. I don't know too many others out there that would do that. That's a big thing. It was started from the beginning of one of our projects, and it still carries on to this day. And we do not leave that meeting without opening or closing with a prayer. So,
yeah, Danos is a very special company in that way. That it's who we are, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that, Luis. Blake, I know you a little bit more because, like Luis said, he came a few months ago. So you've moved up in the company. So you were in the field for a while, or you were in the account manager role for a while. So in your journey up to leadership, what lessons have you learned managing teams of these high risk and high complexity jobs?
Well, first, understanding the scope from being in the field is kind of key. one of the prerequisites, maybe I'd say, but being there when something goes wrong and they need help, let them kind of figure it out kind of thing and be there to support.
What advice would you give employees who want to step into a leadership role?
So for folks that want to step into leadership roles, I would recommend that they pick a leader that they really like and they admire. They reach out and use that individual or individuals as mentors. There's going to be leaders that you're going to work for that you might not like their approach or their style, but that's also good because you'll learn what not to do or how not to do it. But looking at folks that you admire and you see as good leaders out there in the community or in the work environment, and learning from them early on will be something very valuable.
Asking a lot of questions, understanding if it's an operations role you want to go to, if it's an HSE role, hone that skill in and ask those questions. Having that base understanding to move into a role like that is needed for sure.
Knowing a little bit about your journey here, you've come from a different side of the business. Talk a little bit about how you got here to decommissioning.
So I think 7 years here with Danos, starting out on the production side as account manager. I got into decommissioning about 3.5 years ago with our Boomerang project, and really just kind of took a deep dive into that. Danos was really instrumental in getting that project off the ground, and I gained a lot of experience specifically on the back end, learning how to set up contracts and get things and vessels and everything kind of in place to be able to go out and execute work, find the people, find the resources, the assets, that kind of thing. So it was some growth for me. And I kind of, not to toot my own horn, but I excelled in that, kind of under pressure to be able to execute that. So.
Yeah. So, part of the purpose here at Danos is developing great people. And that's an example right there. You took your opportunities and you really asked questions. Yep. You found somebody who could be a mentor for you. And here you are, yep. Operations manager. So Luis, what excites you most about where outsourced operations and decommissioning are headed over the next 5 years?
So what excites me the most is the opportunity there for growth, right? So again, outsourced operations, brand new division we established last year. Last year, we had many inquiries from multiple operators out there looking for different operating models, and we're working through some of those opportunities. Hopefully, we'll be landing here one soon. And then hopefully it snowballs from there into other opportunities for us. But with that growth, what it creates opportunities for people to step in, develop, and grow their careers, both in the field and here in the office. So that's what excites me is that opportunity for growth, not only for Danos as a company, but for all those individuals that will come support the growth in the division.
So customers came to you with a challenge.
Yeah.
And you took that and ran with it and developed the outsourced operations division here.
Yeah, and it wasn't just me, right? We have a team of folks and there was a lot of work that was done before I even joined Danos. Yeah. So we have to recognize those folks that put all that work before I came in. But yes, basically this started from a pull from the customers coming to us with a challenge and asking us to help them solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's appealing for me, specifically in decommissioning, is the outsourced model, late life assets, using that model, like you said earlier, to extend the obligation to remove the facility, asset retirement obligation, but also take that time and properly plan to decommission that asset. So you're extending the life. I think these models go hand in hand with each other, and there's a lot of opportunity, I think, out there for us to help customers out and solve those challenges in that space. So.
Yeah, for sure. When customers trust us to run their operations or close out their assets safely, what does that responsibility mean to you personally? Luis, we'll start with you.
There's a commitment here to deliver for our customers. And that goes from safe execution to efficient execution, right? So that we can deliver value for our customers. And by doing that and building that trust, more opportunities will come for Danos to grow, continue to grow, and for us to create opportunities for people to develop themselves. there's this trust that needs to be built based on us delivering upon the challenge that has been presented to us.
When you hear the name Danos, customers tend to have that trust in a 79-year-old company that, will do the right thing, has done the right thing for many years, and has the integrity to be able to handle their operations in a safe and effective and efficient manner.
As a leader, how does that help you manage your team?
It makes me feel like I've chosen the right place to work. Again, it goes back to our values and our purpose of honoring God and developing great people and solving challenges for our customers. That's something we live and breathe every day, and it makes me feel good to be part of an organization that has that mindset.
So, Luis, you mentioned that you came from the customer side, actually, and you are now the general manager here at Danos. Since you've been here, what's been the most proudest part of being a Danos employee?
So actually, so we obviously, as a service provider, we want to win work, right? But I think the proudest moment that I've had here in the short time that I've been with Danos here over the past about 6 months was some work actually that we walked away from because it wasn't right for us, right? The way that it was being framed didn't fit with our values and the way we want to go about doing business. Like Blake said earlier, we've been a 79-year-old company and we want to be here for another 79 years. And for that, we need to be intentional about what work we do within the right framework. And when it's not right, and it's either going to put our people at risk or put the company at risk, then we just walked away from it. And having the support from the leadership here at Danos when that situation was presented to us and us walking away from it was something that I feel really proud about.
Blake, what about you?
Yeah, that's a really good one, Luis. I'll say my proudest moment of working here in the last 7 years was being nominated for Employee of the Year. That means that, I helped serve our customers at a high level, and that's what we do here. And to be recognized for that, it makes me proud to be a part of Danos.
That's the end of today's episode. Thank you to Luis and Blake for coming in today. Anything else you guys want to add before we head out?
No, thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you for the work that you and your team does. I think it's pretty cool for us to have this open channel communication with the Danos workforce and our customers. So it's pretty cool.
That's it for this episode of Producing Confidence. To learn more about the Danos family of companies, be sure to follow us on social media. Remember, stay safe, stay connected, and keep producing confidence.